The session is now being recorded, just so that you can all see who I am, since I end up saying hello to you and never actually seeing you guys face to face. So there at the bottom, I'm sitting in my room at the moment, waving at you. It's really cold in the Western Cape. It's currently 18 degrees outside. So coming from Durban, where everything's hot, I struggle with anything that's under 20. Anyway, so now you've seen what I look like, and I can now switch my camera back off, and we can start the day. So thank you very much for joining. And specifically thanks to Chris for reminding me of about a few things that I needed to include in the session based on our previous collab. So hopefully everyone will find something worthwhile in today's session. So let's get started with what is actually on the agenda. So we're going to talk about a few communication issues. We're going to do a basic discussion of assignment 1, not a detailed one. That will be on next week when we do the NSS. I just want to switch my WhatsApp off, sorry. Okay, and let's get back to you. Then we're going to have a touching on the important aspects of Learning Unit 2, and we'll discuss specifically Activity 2.2.1 because a lot of students send me messages to say they're really confused. And for the life of me, I don't know why PowerPoint creates that touching important aspects as an injection. Maybe we want to inject some positivity into life, like Vietnam, but anyway, there it is. Then we're going to take look at some of the technical aspects that students have raised. Where do we find the assignments? How do I submit an assignment? Things like that. And I will hopefully be able to talk you through the whole process. I also want to just quickly open a document that I'm hoping to share with you guys just now. Okay, so everything is on board. We're ready to go. So just to communicate with you guys, I don't know why, but I have quite a few people trying to phone me during the day. And I always feel bad when I've got to press decline phone call because I'm inevitably in class. So I lecture long hours. I absolutely love what I do, but it means that I cannot answer phone calls easily. So please send a text and I will respond as soon as I can. I normally respond to people within an hour or two. So please just keep that in mind. If you do need to phone me, just send me a message and say, listen, I need to have a chat to you. When can I phone? And then I can give you some available times and we can see if we can work around that. So I think what's on everybody's mind that they are really a bit stressed about is what is going on in assignment 1. So as I've stated there, we're only going to touch on the key aspects. The detailed discussion will take place today in a week's time on the 27th of March. Please remember that that is going to be at 19:30. So that's after you are finished with another lecturer's classes. So let's look at question 1 of the assignment. The instruction says that you need to write an essay in which you compare the 2 schools of thought. So the 2 schools of thought being idealism and realism. So straight off, we start off with what are they? You need to discuss how your engagement in the philosophical thinking of these great thinkers may impact on your teaching practice. Are you positive about it? Or aren't you positive about it? Do you think it is logical? Don't you think it's logical? A student sent me an email earlier today stating, do we need to have, okay, let me just wait, as Neem says she can't, yes, I've got to quickly type. Okay, so the big deal here is Not only are you comparing idealism and realism, you also have to tell me, how do you think what you're learning about idealism and realism will have an impact in the class? Obviously on your teaching practice, but it boils down to what is it that you're going to be doing within the classroom. So as I have given you guys there, here is the suggested layout structure that I would suggest you follow. They don't really give you a specific word count, but I would imagine this is going to be a good, am I correct that they don't give you a word count? Sorry, I've given you guys the shortened version of it. I would imagine it's 2 to 3 typed pages. So you're going to start off with your introduction. And in that introduction, you give me your personal views on the purpose of education in society as a whole. Nothing about idealism, realism, nya, nya, nya. Nothing of that. Just simply tell me, what do you see the purpose of education is within society? Okay. Thanks, Jordan. So the suggested word count is 1,500. There's about 500 words on a page, so it boils down to about 3 pages. I am not that strict with word count unless the instruction says do not exceed, like it is with your metaphor. Then we can't go over, because then we are not following instructions. If it's a suggested word count of 1,500, it means we can go anything from 1,200 to probably about 1,800. Okay, word count sorted out. You've done your introduction. You've told me, what do you think the purpose of education is within society? Next, now you're going to go through the body. Now, this could be many different paragraphs, okay? That's why I've got for you at the bottom there the picture of the hamburger. A thing that drives me kind of crazy when I mark these things are that you're all postgraduates. By now, you should know how to write essays. And I will still get a student that will give me one hell of a long paragraph of 1,500 words. So please make sure you split it up. Basically, each one of those bullets could be a paragraph on its own. So the first one says, provide a brief discussion of the originator or the people. Who's the father of these philosophies? Okay, so that you will be able to find within your table that you've compared. You're going to tell me, is it Aristotle, Socrates? Who's the originator of this thing that you're telling me about? Yeah, Wesley says, or 500 words. I know I was very upset now the other day, totally off topic, but students were told in another institution to write a paragraph of 250 words. And I'm like, seriously? Yes, we are discussing the assignment. So this is the layout of the assignment. So the first bullet is, who is the originator, the father of that philosophy? One of them have got 2 people, the other one's got 1. That's what you're going to describe here. You're going to give me a brief discussion on idealism and realism, as in who found them. Next, you're going to provide an overview of the basic premises of the school of thought. What is idealism all about? What is realism about? Now you're going to move into a discussion on the epistemological questions that each one of them have, and what is the educational implications of the epistemological questions. So what is epistemology? That is the idea of knowing truth and question of knowledge. How do we know what we know? That's what's going on there. The next one, you're going to analyze the metaphysical questions. So this is the idea of describing the nature of what is there. What is real? What is not real? And what is the educational implications of that? You definitely are supposed to use your, Melissa, you're supposed to use your, can someone just please type for Katie? Melissa, you're supposed to make use of your ICE tasks. That's why I wanted them to be submitted. So if someone's missing the boat, I can say to them, whoa, I think you've swapped them around or you've got it the wrong way around. So that is basically the idea, is that you use that information. Okay, so that takes care of that one. Now you're going to emphasize the similarities and the differences. And you're going to focus on whether they're teacher-centered or learner-centered. Second last bullet of the body, explain the main implications. Now take note, the word implications mean if this gets done in the class, what will it result? What will it lead to? So explain the main implications of the two schools of thought inside the classroom. Use examples to illustrate this discussion. Present your arguments regarding which philosophy you feel is the most relevant to teaching in today's classroom. So again, based on what a student asked me earlier today, the one philosophy is not better than the other. They both have got, this is my opinion, me, Uranda, not your lecturer or your tutor. I feel there's space for both of these in the classroom, just like there's space for teacher-centered learning and learner-centered learning. For example, if I teach grammar, okay, I'm busy with an English lesson and I'm going to teach the children active and passive voice. While I am describing to them what's going on. So I'm going to have my sentence on the board. The boy kicks the ball. It's going to become the ball is kicked by the boy. I'm going to have arrows and I'm going to explain to them what I did. At that stage of the game, it's a teacher-centered lesson because the focus is on me. Now I've explained to these dear little souls what's active and passive voice. And they now have got exercises. Let's say I gave them 10 sentences that they now have to change from active to passive voice. Now I walk amongst my class, to check, the kids in the class, and I now check what it is that they do, and I help them. Now my lesson has moved to a learner-centered lesson. So very seldom do you get one lesson that is totally just the one structure versus just the other structure. So the one is not better or worse than the other one. I think it depends on what it is that you're trying to teach. So typically under realism, you will find subjects such as maths and science, which is more of a lecturing focus because there's not, okay, let's discuss why is 2 + 2 4. It is what it is. Let's move on. That's the type of thing that can happen. But you could adapt it according to what you want. So that takes care of the body of question 1. You now conclude your paragraph or your answer with a conclusion. End your answer by referring back to your introduction. And what was your introduction? It was your personal views. So your conclusion has to link back with what do you believe. And if one of you come up and you're telling me, I think idealism is a total waste of time, I'm all for realism, I'm cool with that. I'm looking for what is your substantiation? What reasons are you giving me? If you feel realism is crazy and you only do idealism, that's also cool. But are you substantiating? Are you giving me reasons why you are saying so? So the big focus in that conclusion is on how idealism and realism affect education today, which is basically exactly linking up with what your introduction was. So that's the end of question 1. Okay, I'm not too sure where you guys get your ICE marks, submission for ICE marks, because that will be based on each OT will give you a separate one. The pads can get found within the system. Let me quickly show you. So someone's actually asking me to do that now. Okay.
Sorry, it's may seem like an obvious one, but there are just a lot of people getting confused because there are various passes going around and where to find dates, etc. So I thought we might as well deal with it now.
Yeah, no, I totally understand with you. I'm with you over there. So I'm going to do a screen share
Thanks
with
a
you.
lot.
I'm just waiting for there we go. Okay, so I've already saved it. I don't know what you guys save it as, but it's going to take you to this page. Now the other day I showed you, or I gave you the basic link. Then you've got to like log in and then you're on this page. Remember, if you tap now on collaborate, I cannot see it. So you're going to scroll all the way down and here you're going to find different schools. So we're going to click on School of Education. Okay, and we are going to go on to postgraduate certificate, that one. Okay, and you guys are the distance students. And now we're going to look at, it doesn't look like this has been updated. Remember, I don't often go in here. Let's say part-time, if it's there. There we go. So let me just check. I know I'm confusing you guys. Sorry. I just want to make sure that the distance one, because you guys are distance. There we go. So if you download this now, I mean, this is some other story. This is not your actual PAS. Okay, so the PAS document will then be Program of Assessment. There we go. So I'll download it, and that's where you find it. So just to go back to it, let's go to the home page. So it's this thing, My VC Student Intranet. Scroll down, click onto School of Education, click onto Postgraduate Certificate, click on Distance, click on Program or Assessment Schedule 2023, and they will lie here. So as they update, this is still version 1. If there had to be an update, they will post it over here. So that is where you can find the information. Okay, let me just, so what, is their new pass different from version 1? We're still with version 1. It doesn't seem to say anything different. Next person, are the titles headings important for the assignment and will we get penalized? Yes, you will definitely get penalized if you don't add headings because then it's not an academic piece of work. Paula says, so in that last point before the conclusion, do we need to choose one and explain why it will be most? No, you can just talk about both of them if you want to. If you feel that that's the more logical one of those, that's then what you would do. Let me just open up the slides onto that section again. So the present your argument regarding which philosophy you feel is most relevant to your teaching. If you want to state to me, I feel that both are relevant to teaching, that would also work. Okay. Do I need a contents page? And then for headings, you don't have to have a contents page. It's just more academically acceptable to do that. But those things I will discuss with you on next week, Monday, in the NSS. Okay, that takes care of question 1. So question 2 deals with your teaching metaphor. It's split into 2 sections. So question 2.1, describe a teaching metaphor that you believe reflect your basic beliefs about teaching. Please discuss as a teacher. So you discuss the teacher's role, the learner's role, and how you think you're going to be effective. The metaphor may not exceed 250 words. So here they're not giving us a guideline. They are telling you it cannot exceed 250 words. As postgraduates, I hope you know that in-text referencing is not part of your word count. okay? But being a student myself, it is a pain because now I've got to look at in Word document at the bottom left, it tells you what your word count is, and then you have to subtract all your in-text referencings. I would imagine most students really struggle to keep this under 250 words. So if yours is less than 200, I think you are not covering all the things. So what is it that you need to cover? You need to tell me, first of all, tell me the comparison. I believe I am a gardener that takes care of plants in a garden. Now you've told me what it is. As a teacher, I see myself in the role of the gardener. My job is to, and my students are the little plants in my care. My job as a teacher is to provide them with nourishment in the form of water, make sure they get enough sunlight, whatever else you want to add. Very quickly, you will see that you are now already over 200 words. So Leandre is saying, if you did not use sources to write this, I cannot see how you could make use of sources to write this specific section because this is your opinion. You can't really reference this unless you are going into some detail as to why children are the empty vessel that you have got to fill, and now you linking it with Freire's philosophy. But that's, you don't do that. You're going to just complicate the story. Give me a metaphor in which you tell me the basic story. This is my job as a teacher. This is the role of the kiddies. This is how I'm going to make sure I'm effective. Yes, Chanel, sorry, it should be mostly your own words. You should not reference in this section. Unless, of course, you are writing directly from or you are paraphrasing another source in your explanation of your metaphor. Yes, Anya, that is why task 1 was set, because it will help you to answer this. And if the system picks up the similarity, it's fine. I open every similarity report and I check what is similar. So if I open yours and it says it's 100% the same as another student, I go and open, oh, the other student is also Anya. Okay, no problem. No plagiarism. Okay, let's move on. Otherwise, we're not going to finish today. So some tips for when it comes to question 2.1 is ensure that your metaphor is logical in terms of teaching. Okay, don't give me a metaphor that you sort of like think, what on earth, how does this relate to teaching? The second thing is make sure you discuss those 3 bullets, the role of the teacher, the roles of the learners, and how do you ensure that effective teaching will take place? So question 2.2 is then for 30 marks. Now you're going to analyze your own metaphor that you've just given me with regards to idealism and realism. So basically, you're going to tell me, how does that metaphor fit into these 2 categories? So your explanation should be approximately 1 page or 500 words, and it cannot exceed 800 words. So you shouldn't go over 1.5 typed pages. Okay, now I know that within this group, we have got some students that are in the same position as what I am, that's busy doing masters and things like that. So if you are used to writing a lot, you really need to focus not to do it here. Stick to the basic facts. Don't give me a 10-page, because you can easily, this question can easily be 5 to 10 pages, but that's not what's being asked. They're asking you to just give an explanation of how your metaphor fits in with idealism and realism and limit it to 1.5 pages. So that's basically what's going on over here. Okay, so the tips that I have with regards to 2.2, figure out for yourself again what is idealism and what is realism. So in idealism, yes, it is being recorded. If you look at the camera on the top left section, there's a little camera and it's got a red dot, so it's being recorded. So in idealism, now what you're going to do is you're going to tell me, how does your metaphor fit in with idealism? I would honestly suggest you split it. You first discuss how does it fit into idealism, and then you say how does it fit into realism. You can compare the two at the same time if you want to, whatever's easiest. Different people think differently and process assignments differently, so I'm not going to dictate that to you. But basically, how does your metaphor apply to idealism? Which elements of idealism can you find in your metaphor? Which aspects of idealism did you integrate in your metaphor? Okay, is anybody else struggling with the sound or just Robin? Thank you, Deborah, for answering her. So in realism, how does your metaphor apply to realism? Which elements of realism can be found in it? Which aspects, sorry, that's a typo, guys. Which aspects of realism did you integrate in your metaphor? So please take note, it shouldn't be real idealism, it should have been realism. So, and this is very important. You must make use of examples in the classroom that's going to support your discussion. That's what you guys are doing, a qualification in teaching. Everything that you do has to relate to what is happening in the class. So just a quick refresh then, what is idealism? The focus is on the mind. The ideas are only true, they say ideas are the only true reality, the only thing worth knowing. Subject matter includes matter of the mind, such as literature, history, philosophy, religion. You teach the ideas that are everlasting. Seek enduring truths which are constant and not changing. That's the summary of idealism. Summary of realism. The focus is on the body, our senses, how we perceive the world around us. Reality exists independent of the human mind. So that brings in that good old question, if a tree falls in a forest and no one's there to hear it, did it really fall? It's that stuff. Realist says it fell. Whether you saw it or not, that is what happened. The physical world is the ultimate reality. The subject matter tends to focus on the physical world for things such as science, mathematics, biology, probably geography to a certain extent as well. We teach for mastering of fact and basic skills. Teach the common core, with other words, the basics of information and skills that's needed for citizenship. So the suggested layout then for question 2.2 is as follows. You will also start off with the introduction, focus and give a brief description of the origin of the two schools. And what is your position? Okay, so I know it tends to feel like you're repeating yourself, and yes, you are, but this is a different question, and to have an introduction that makes sense, you have to just explain briefly, this is what idealism is about, this is what realism is about, this is what I am about. This is my position with regards to all of this. Then you will discuss amongst those, under your discussion, the main characteristics of both schools. What does each say about epistemology? How does this apply to the methods of education? You don't have to list all of this stuff because the focus in 2.2 is more on how is your metaphor fitting in with all of these. So I'm not going to go through all of those things in detail, A, B, C, D, E, F. You can look at that. But at the end, your conclusion is going to be a summary of the key aspects that you've touched on. So that takes care of that. Okay, so Marina is saying she's in the same problem as the others. Deborah saying, while doing this assessment, I was doubting myself a lot because I felt like I was repeating myself. So I'm glad you find this useful. In a way, you are repeating yourself. Thanks, Alex, for saying the sound is fine, because I was wondering if it's my connection, but I'm at virtually 100% connectivity. So things are happening around the country. If there's load shedding close by, it could affect it, and so forth. As Wesley said, there's likely to be connectivity issues. Okay, so that takes care of the assignment 1. Now we're going to look at some of the key points from Learning Unit 2. Okay, we're focusing on classical philosophy. The first theme is based on the 3 legendary figures of Western philosophy, and they are Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. I am not going to read to you what's on the screen. There's quite a few of these during the course of our session, and you would be able to see different people summarize it, but here is an example of how these can work.
Sorry, Joe, can I just interrupt you there quickly? Just to confirm, assignment 1 is due 4th of April.
That's correct.
Okay, and then assignment 2 is 2nd of May.
That's correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, let me just quickly go. Paul says, are you guys using Chrome? Okay, thanks for that tip. Clinton says, sounds good. Leandre says, please can you explain teacher-centric and learner-centric for both idealism and realism? You will see that's going to come up on one of the slides just now, okay? Because I've taken it off another set of slides that you'll be able to see, and it explains it actually quite well. Okay, Dylan say, in terms of teaching, am I correct in thinking metaphysical is what is being studied and epistemological is how it's studied? Again, you will see that just now in one of the slides. Okay, so theme 2 then looks at idealism and realism as schools of thought. So this specific, and remember everyone, in case you've forgotten, you can download these slides that I currently have. If you're on a PC or a laptop, at the top right, you will see in the very corner of the black, there's like a circle with a square in. Next to it is a dirt bin, and next to that is a box with an arrow that points down. If you click on that, you will actually download the slides that's currently showing, and then you can look at them leisurely at your own pace. The next couple of slides come from SlideShare, and I've given you the website link to it. This is answering all the questions, Leandre's question, Dylan's question. You will see all of that, and it helps you to fill in the table for activity 2.2.1. So this is a comparison of idealism and realism. Who are the founders? Idealism is based on the ideas of Plato and Socrates. Realism is based on the ideas of Aristotle. So the key focus of idealism holds that the ideas are the only truth. The only constant for Plato was mathematics, unchangeable and eternal. Plato's method of dialogue engaged in systematic logical explanation of all the points of view. So he did not give people an answer. He would ask another question to lead them to the answer. So how does that affect education? So here's the answer to many of the questions you guys have stated. According to idealism, what is the aims of education? It's to discover and to develop each individual's ability and full moral excellence. Because remember, idealism is also part of ethics. To search for truth and further the character development of learners. What's the curriculum? It's based upon the spiritual nature of man. It is subject-centered. Teaching methods that we would typically use focus on handling ideas through lecture, discussion, and Socratic dialogue. Socratic dialogue is where I keep on asking you questions and you find the answers for yourself. Character is developed through imitating examples and heroes. What's the role of the teacher? It is to serve as a guide for immature learners, to judge the importance of certain material, and to model appropriate behavior. As well as it is expected that a teacher has got an excellent grasp of knowledge of teaching, and obviously then is also an all-rounded person. What's the instructional process? It's holistic. It seeks to develop critical thinkers and deals with broad concepts rather than specifics. So task 1 is just give me your metaphor. There's no explanations or whatever. You just have to tell me, use your metaphor, what's your job, what's the kid's job, end of the story. Task 2 is fill in the table. The information that's currently on the next couple of slides will help you to fill that in. That's it. In the actual assignment, you now have to explain it based on idealism and realism. Okay, next section. So what is realism? It holds that reality exists independent of the human mind. Matter in the universe is real and independent of man's ideas. Okay, so whether I believe I can stand on the moon or not, the moon is out there. Aristotle was the leading proponent of realism. You don't have to worry about the rest. There's generic notions. Only through studying the material world is it possible to clarify and develop ideas. Matter is real, independent of ideas. So how does this then look in teaching? The aims of education, according to a realist, is to understand the world through inquiry, verify ideas in the world of experience, teach things that are essential and practical, and develop the learner's rational power. The curriculum will focus on subject matter of the physical world, particularly science and maths. The teaching methods that we tend to use focus on the mastery of facts and basic skills through demonstrating and recitation, in other words, parrot fashion to some things. The role of the teacher is to organize and present the content in a systematic way within discipline. With other words, if I'm teaching you business studies, I must stick to that. And I need to show demonstrate the use of criteria to make sense of what it is. Your instructional process will generally be to you will seek out to teach fundamentals, to encourage specializations, and so forth. So if we compare these two, what is their impact on education as a whole? I'm not going to read through it. It is straight there. You guys can see for yourself what it is. You can download it so you'll be able to have it. You're only asking, does she need to make it extensive? Not really. As long as it's the basics is there, I will only start marking them tomorrow since people still have today to finish. Nina, she's asking, does realism not want them to be critical thinkers? If we go look at what do they say, they want the students to understand the world around them, to verify the ideas. We've got to teach them things that's going to be practical and to develop their rational power. Now, rational power means to think things through. Is that not part of critical thinking? This is part of the discussion that you've got to come up with. To me, they both do critical thinking. They just do it in a slightly different approach. So it carries on. What is the impact of the two on education? So let's have a look now at how does this, what's the implications of idealism and realism? And this is really the key of it all. This is where you're answering that table that you've got to fill in from 2.2.1 fits in with this. What's the aim of education? What methods are we going to use? What is the curriculum? What is the role of the teacher? So someone asked just now, Nina that asked about, do we teach them critical thinking? So idealism teaches critical thinking as a main thing, but you can't say realism doesn't teach it. Because realism say, make use of the world around it. If something doesn't make sense, question it. And if you do that, it's part of the same thing. It's all just going to depend on how you argue it. So then theme 3 is based on the 3 legendary figures of classical Western philosophy. Again, it's those 3 old men. I'm not going to go through it in detail. You can see there again is someone's summary of their work. And here I have given you, I'm not going to go through that again because I feel that you guys can read this since you've been able to download it. So this is all about Socrates. This is about Plato. And that's about Aristotle. So you guys can read through that. It's just an easier one to figure out a little bit more about Aristotle. Again, the same 3 different set of information. I just like to provide you with a variety of ways of looking at material. So next, let's talk about this activity that people really struggled with. Dylan says, from my understanding, realism expected critical thinking only once their foundations of good character was formed. Yes, correct. But I needed to teach my kids, my high school kids, the basis of questioning to create critical thinkers for later on in life. So Dylan has summed it up beautiful. In the classroom, we might not expect that critical thinking, but we're starting to nurture the ability to question, to think for yourself, so that when the moment comes, when they're now fully functional adults within society, they can make use of critical thinking. Okay, so let's look at this activity that you guys needed to do. That really stumped some people. So basically, we're comparing idealism and realism. And I love this picture when I found it. If you guys go look on the left-hand side, you can see the website. And this website is actually a very nice explanation of idealism and realism. Not necessarily in teaching, but in general. And I love the fact that it says there's an interdependence of idealism and realism within society. We can't really do with one and not the other. They kind of blend together. So this is what you guys needed to do. We already gave you the originators, okay? So what is a basic premise? It is a statement or an idea that is accepted as being true and that is used as the basis of an argument. Selena says, I've come to realize that I've been taught by mostly realist teacher, but turned out to be more idealistic myself. And you know what? Some of that will also change as you maybe get older. I reinvent my teaching probably every 3-4 years. I totally change my slides and I try a different way of approaching the same thing. And I think you sort of like go full circle. You might now feel you're more into idealism, then you might go into realism, but then you're going to come back to that. So let's go back then on basic premises. So if we go look at the section under idealism, the question there is, what did these 2 philosophers claim to be the basic elements of idealism? They focused on ideas, so you need to elaborate on ideas. Aristotle, on the other hand, what was his claim to be the basic elements of realism? He focused on reality. So that has to be part of your discussion. So now, after we've done that little bit of the table, we now have to talk about the metaphysical, epistemological underpinnings. So for those of you that feel these words are swear words, we've got no idea what these things are about, I went and I gave you an explanation of it. So metaphysical deals with the nature of reality. How does it describe the nature or reality? So in idealism, what do they say is reality? In realism, what does realism say is reality? Now, those things that I got off SlideShare that I showed you previously, they discuss that. They tell you what those things are. Then we're going to go on to epistemological. That is the theory of knowledge. How does it claim we know things? So, how does idealism describe the process of gaining knowledge versus how does realism describe the process of gaining knowledge? Just so that you understand that that's what's going on there. If we now go into the classroom, I didn't specify, I just explained it to you underneath each heading. The aims of education. You need to explain what each philosophy describes to be the aim. Again, the slides I just shared told you what was the aim. What do we want to achieve within schooling? What is it that we want to be the outcome? That's the aims. The role of the teacher. Explain what each philosophy views to be the role of the teacher. Curricular emphasis. Explain what each of these philosophies say the role or the focus should be. In South Africa, we use CAPS. So how does that fit into both of these schools of thoughts? Which subjects typically fall under which philosophy? And then the teaching methods. Which teaching strategies can you associate with each philosophy? Which one is teacher or learner centered? Which one is, and what would that, which one is teacher centered? Which one is learner centered? And if you're telling me something is learner centered, what do you actually mean by that? So that's what that table was then all about. So that brings us to the end of Learning Unit 2. Now, thanks to Chris that reminded me, I am now going to do a few shares with you on how do you do these following things, because some of you said to me, okay, that you're not 100% sure what to do. So first of all, let's look at your sources, your bibliography. Okay, how do you put those in alphabetical order? So first of all, you're going to select the list that you want to sort. You're going to go to home, then you're going to go to sort. You're going to sort by paragraph and text. So that's the option that you are going to choose. And then you are going to say A to Z or Z to A. We're going to say A to Z. And you're going to say, okay. So let's see if that works out. I'm going to do a screen share with you now. Okay, so this is part of my bibliography from my master's. So what they're saying is select the list. Okay, so this is my list. Let's select it. Okay, there we go. Obviously, I didn't put all of them. I've just got that. We've selected it. We're going to go to home and we're going to go to sort. Does anybody see where that is? If in doubt. No, I don't know where to do it. I don't know if anybody else. Oh, there we go at the top.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't normally work on my laptop. I work on my PC. I just use laptops for lessons. So sort A to Z. There we go. Paragraph, text. Okay. And there they are. So you basically did exactly the steps. We said select. I just went and typed in here sort. In any case, that was the easier one. And paragraphs, and it goes A to Z. Okay, the next thing is how do we create hanging? So you're going to click on the paragraph goodie thing there. You're going to go special and you're going to say hanging. And you're going to say, okay. And that is how you hang it. So that's more academically correct to have your things like that. So let's just undo it so I can show you again where it was. Let's do the whole thing again from scratch. These are not in alphabetical order, so we're going to select our list. We're going to click here, sort. I'm going to say I want to sort it from A to Z. I want to do paragraphs, and I'm going to click OK. And now everything is sorted for me. Now I want to do the hanging. I'm going to go still in home under paragraph. I'm going to click that little thing over there. And under special, I'm going to select hanging. And I'm going to say OK. And that is it. That is how it will do that. Okay, so let's get back to the last couple of questions. They deal directly with VC Learn. So let's just go down. So some of you wanted to know, where do you find assignment 1? Where do you find your assignments? And then how do I submit assignments? So I'm going to just quickly show you guys. That's where it is. I will take you into the pages again. Yes, Deborah, you can do it that way as well. Okay, I just want to open group 2 because I fiddle around in group 1, so it doesn't always look the way you guys see it. Okay, let's do a screen share. So first of all, where do you find it? So here you can see now I am in group 2. There it says. And I said, so you've got to go into your course material. Now you're over here. Then you're going to scroll down to assessment submissions. Now, before you can do anything, you have to do the integrity declaration. Okay, so here they explain to you what it is. You're going to click on your integrity declaration. You are going to say begin. I have read through this already, so I'm not going to do it again. But you're going to read through all of this. You're going to say, I accept, save and submit. And it's going to shout at me, and I'm going to say, okay. And let's just check, and okay, it's done. Okay, now I can go and say submission links. So again, I'm going to go into assessment submissions. I've done my integrity. Now I'm going to go click submission links. I can go click on assignment 1. Okay, I'm going to say browse a file so I can upload what it is that I wanted to do. So let's say this one that I just used is going to be that one. Okay, now it's first shouting at me. It's open, so let's just close it. So I'm going to say, yes, let's do that. So now make double sure you tick that little goodie. Okay, and then you're going to go to the bottom and you're going to say submit. Okay, so it's not going to be saved because of whatever the case might be. Okay, so someone's typing away here and I can't see typing unless I go back here. Okay, I'll show it for you just now. So that is how you would go about finding it and how you would go about submitting it. You have to click that. Okay, and then you're going to say submit. Oh, because it's saying to me the assignment is blank. So it's got that. I don't know why I did not attach it, but anyway, that is how you guys would end up doing it. Oh, I didn't attach it, sorry. Okay, there's the document has now been attached. And now I will click yes. It's going to tell me some funny stuff because something is wrong. But that is how you guys would go about it. Remember, I'm in teacher mode. I'm not in student view. So yours, if I go like this, I would probably see what you guys are seeing. So if we go here now, it will probably want me to, yep, I have to do the declaration and everything else again. So I'm not going to do it again, but you get an idea of that is where we would be able to find all of these. Okay, so I see someone asked PDF. Yes, always PDF because the pages jump and it ends up going all wacky if you don't have it like that. Okay, then just the last slide that I want to share with you, then we're done for today. It's just to discuss with you when our sessions are.
Sorry, Joe, just a quick question on the ask tasks. Those dates apparently can change. Where can we keep track of those on EC Learn?
You can't. Your lecturers might post it for you on your calendar. I'm not sure how they work at all. So it depends on lecturer to lecturer. So someone's asked, Nokotula, font size is normal, Arial, or any of the others. I do discuss this with you guys again in detail on the NSS session, which is due on the 27th of March. Okay. Okay, there we've got a good explanation. Safe Assign only allows you to complete and sign the declaration roughly around 2 weeks before the due dates of assignments. Okay, I am not familiar with those things, so I can't really help or discuss that. Safe Assign is like Turnitin. It's the program that gets used to check plagiarism. It does it automatically when you submit. Okay, so please take note. I will see you all next week, Monday, but at 19:30, not at 6 o'clock like normal. You can see all the dates that's there, and I've explained to you what we are doing in each of the sessions, so you've got a better understanding of what to expect. Any other questions? Not regarding the system, because I can't really help you with that, but with anything related to the module. If you've got no questions and you're all sorted out, then you are welcome to log off, and I will see you guys next week, Monday. Yes, Melissa.